Welcome to the fall sports season finale this week in Lebanon Warrior Sports here on LebanonWarriors.com and ESP Media powered by Sidearm Sports. I'm Jason Griefer. We're joined once again by Lebanon Athletic Director Keith Pantling. Keith, great week at Lebanon High School. A lot of positive stuff to talk about as the fall season's winding down.
Yeah, it's great vibes here today. Cross country had a great Saturday. We got playoff action tonight in boys soccer, and we're hosting some volleyball here on Wednesday and Saturday for Division II. So a lot going on as always this time of year, and as you mentioned, kind of wrapping things up. Even though there's a lot of postseason action, and then planning ahead for the winter. So unique year, and we're excited to keep things going.
Let's talk about, first of all, your football team. As we talked about last week, playoff run came to an end, but you still had games you wanted to get in for the guys to play, and you took on Miamisburg. You get a 42-21 win, so that's good there. We were wondering kind of how things were going to be now that we're just playing games just for the sake of playing games, and your team came out and played very, very well. What was the energy level like around the team and amongst the players going into this week, knowing that we're playing this game just to play this game?
As I mentioned to you, Coach was, I thought that was the biggest challenge, was keeping them engaged and motivated and finding something to play for. And he said they had a tremendous week of practice and found that love for football and kind of given them some purpose as to why they're playing, and did some different things to try to make things, fun, but stay constructive and continue to move the program forward, keep things competitive, and challenge the younger guys to step up and develop themselves and really give purpose to these practices and these reps that they're getting. So came out and played tremendous. Now they get to turn around and take on a Milford team that's very comparable in terms of standings and things. So I think they'll continue to stay motivated.
This is a very tough league you're moving into on the football side of things. Kings has been very good. Turpin's up there. Anderson can score a bunch of points. How would you assess this season for your team in its first year in the ECC?
Well, it's funny talking to Coach. We didn't get the best draw in the world opening up the way we did with Winton Woods and Anderson and Kings, as you mentioned, kind of right in a row. But I think he's feeling better about it now, and how the first time kind of seeing some of those teams and their style of play. You kind of get used to it over the years, kind of as you're adapting to personnel or styles of play or types of coaches over the years in a conference. You can start to hone in, and the kids adapt. Every week's kind of a new week this year, where there's no real rollover of information, if you will. So they got to stay attentive and alert and be really, really good on the cognitive side to be prepared to go into these games. But from a toughness level, I think our kids know they can compete. So just continuing to build the program.
Well, you mentioned cross country at the top of the show, and what a statement they have made in their first year in the ECC. Both the boys and the girls win the team championships. We'll talk about Faith Duncan here in a second, because Faith needs time for herself as far as just our discussion goes. But at what point in this season, setting Faith Duncan aside for a moment, did you think, wow, not only this girls' team, but also the boys could win the ECC title?
Yeah, when I was talking to Coach, and they always kind of were chasing Beaver Creek and the G-Walk, and I talked to them a little bit about what they thought of the ECC, and they kept mentioning Loveland, but as I talked to you before, they just kept on their own regimen and working to be the best they could be. They actually were behind Loveland in the state, both boys and girls, going into the weekend. So I think that may have been a little bit of a motivating factor, but they're just really talented. And I think they always knew it in the back of their mind that they had that opportunity if they came out and raced well. And after the boys race, we kind of tallied up the points real quick. The coaches, I was kind of listening to them, and they're doing their math, and figured that they won by a couple. And then the girls race, I mean, it was Lebanon after Lebanon after Lebanon, and a couple Lovelands and Turpins sprinkled in, but they all finished the race really, really early, and it was really cool to see how excited they were. But I think they probably knew that they had a good chance early on, but I think everyone else now knows after watching them Saturday that they're here and kind of raised the bar a little bit.
Over on the girls' side, we see Hope Carr run very, very well, finish second to Faith Duncan. who wins the individual championship by over 40 seconds.
Yeah.
That's how far ahead she was. Runaway, easiest honor to name in naming Faith the ECC runner of the year, as she should. State best time and so on and so forth. There, obviously we want the team to go as far as we can, not only the districts, then to the regional, and then hopefully on towards state. And you said you're right there as a team with Loveland as far as the state rankings go there. That aside, do you and does Faith feel that she has a realistic shot to win an individual state title?
I think that's her goal, and that's what she trains for. I don't know the ins and outs of it enough. You'd probably have to talk to her and coach, but um, shoot, watching her this year and what she's doing, I wouldn't put anything past her in terms of her ability to do that. So, I don't know. She probably knows the names of each and every girl that could give her a run for her money, but I'm not. I don't know all the ins and outs of that.
Sure.
But it wouldn't surprise me in the least if she were to bring that home.
What does that say about her level of preparation? That to your point, she may be able to name runners at random schools in Columbus or Cleveland or Toledo areas that would be her biggest competitors.
She has a great passion for it, and if I met her without knowing who she was, I think she's like, you would know she's like a competitive runner.
Yeah.
The way she carries herself, the way that she competes, the way she talks. I mean, she's awesome. I'm so happy for her and her future, heading to Mississippi State after high school. But she's got that it factor, and I'm looking forward to following her journey here.
Let's move on and talk about your golf teams there. You sent Riley Johnson, Joey Dennis onto the districts individually there. They come up short, don't quite make it on to the following round there, but nevertheless, really strong seasons again in the first year in the ECC, and then also showing well against outside non-conference competition. How do you feel this year and the way it went for both the boys and the girls on the golf course set you up for 2021?
I think it was great. I think that the coaches have both kind of talked about just instilling a culture of competitive golf that you're in a conference like this, that it's not just an activity. I mean, if you guys really want to be good at the sport, you have to practice, you have to play, you have to do some training all year round. And so I think those are some good conversations that I'm hearing that will really help elevate the programs. I thought that getting those both, so many golfers through to that district, that's just great, invaluable experience just to play in those to get, that's where you want to get back to. So for the younger players to get those reps and see what it takes. I mean, I was out there. There are some really, really talented golfers in their groups, and when you're rubbing elbows with them and playing competitive golf like that, it kind of raises the bar for you. And heading into the off season, I think the coaches will build on that if that's where you want to be. This is what they do, X, Y, and Z, and in the months of December and February and April, and right on through to next year.
And a lot to build on for sure for both the girls and the boys going into 2021. Let's move on to the pitch. Let's talk about your girls soccer team. They draw the 11 seed. We've got a first round matchup with a familiar foe. They're going to see Turpin in round one. So if we look at the way the thing's set up, Turpin round one, you win that, you'll see Little Miami in round two. These are two ECC schools. Beat both of those schools in the regular season. And so you'll see them again. We always hear the adage about how it's difficult to beat a team 3 times in 1 year. Well, with the way the schedule's set up, you got to try and beat them twice. So having the in the back of their heads that they've already beaten Turpin and Little Miami on the season, would then it be a disappointment if they didn't make it to round 3, where you likely would see Lakota West?
I think if you ask them, they'd probably say yes. But I think it's been pretty quiet around here in terms of girls soccer the last few days. And I think that's because coach has them with their hard hats on and their lunch pails and just staying focused and working hard, that there's a target on their back, because these revenge games in soccer, it's pretty easy to motivate teams on the opposite side. So
sure.
Defending our home turf and trying to get these 2 games, get out on the right side of them, and and take our swings at potentially a Lakota East, I think is what they're focused on. But battling some injuries and things, they know we're shorthanded. I think they're really staying motivated, and we'll come out on all cylinders tomorrow.
Over on the boys' side, they're the 10 seed in the playoffs. They're going to head to Miamisburg, the 5 seed, tonight, as a matter of fact. So it'll be tough conditions out there with all the rain in the area and whatnot as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out there. It's been a tough year for this team in the ECC. New teams to play, very good teams in that respect as well. And you're going to a Miamisburg team who's, winning record, solid team, solid program. Given that it's been kind of an up and down year for this boys soccer team, how far would an upset win over Miamisburg go in terms of building momentum for when they do eventually reach the off season?
Well, you talk about ups and downs, and I think this program's on the up right now, which is an awesome time to be on an up.
Yep.
They finished the ECC play 2-0-1. They knocked off West Claremont, then beat Little Miami last Wednesday 2-0, and then on Thursday tied first place Loveland, who actually gave Turpin a share of the title. So playing great down the stretch. I've talked about it on here a few times about keeping them focused and motivated and not throwing in the towel and all the challenges and adversity that goes along with a season. And I think they've done a great job. I think they're kind of galvanized right now and excited to prove something. They do have a familiar opponent in terms of Miamisburg being in the league for the last 3 years. So these kids are familiar with Miamisburg and certainly aren't afraid of stepping on the pitch and playing against them. So I think things line up pretty good here. I've got nothing to lose going on the road and being the underdog. And I think it's a great time for the boys program to make a statement tonight.
How big of a shot in the arm did it give the boys that they were able to go out against Loveland, who has been the best team in the league all year long, and draw and come out with a draw out of it? Not a lot of people saw that coming. They figured it would just be, just a stepping stone for Loveland to win the league title outright. But your boys come out and play very, very well against the best in the league and wound up getting a tie of it. As you said, it cost Loveland the outright title. They now have to share it with Turpin. But I have to imagine that's a pretty big shot of confidence in the arm that, even though they didn't get the win, they still drew with the best team in the league.
Yeah, and I wasn't there. I was there for most of the game. But I will tell you this. I mean, the way they came out, I don't know the X's and O's of soccer all that much. But Coach had them prepared to play that game from a schematic standpoint, and the boys were playing some of their most passionate soccer that I've seen them. They came out energized and tough and physical and kind of just wanted to show that they belonged on the turf with them. So very cool to see. Like I said, you can talk records all day long, but I feel like this team is playing at their optimal potential right now and hopefully can do some damage tonight.
Yeah, and if they pull the win over Miamisburg, you've got a pretty nice matchup in the second round with Xenia. So it's really a chance here. If you get over this first hurdle, got a chance to maybe get a couple of more rounds into the tournament. That's
ironically, we would come back home for that game. So I think they want one more home game, which is a motivating factor as well.
No doubt. Let's talk about your volleyball team. They do indeed close the deal out and finish 16-0 in the ECC season. We got to see the shirts broke out to celebrate the title. I know we had talked last week. They weren't happy with the 5-set win over Milford. They come back home and take care of business in the regular season finale there in conference play to go 16-0. And then I think just as important, turn around on Saturday and win at CHCA. And we talked before that's a big one too, in loading up that non-conference late in the season to get yourself prepared for the state tournament. So with that said, you're the number 1 seed, but looking ahead, I'm gonna look ahead. I know they won't, but we're potentially looking at a district final matchup with Ursuline, who just beat your girls a week and a half ago. Would you like to see that rematch there? A chance to get some revenge there and knock Ursuline out?
Yes, I would. I think that definitely weighed into some of the selection process and things, and that was pushed for by the girls, I think. So yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because I think that's motivating them right now. I will say that the COVID kind of threw a wrench in some things with non-conference and the GWalk and having to do some scheduling. I think this is the perfect time to get 5 days off and have that bye, because typically we've been going Saturday and then Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then maybe Saturday's off, but then we're Monday, Tuesday, Thursday again. And there was a stretch there where we had to add CHCA in late and Mason in late in the year to fill out the schedule. And it's been grueling. So I think it's a great time to recharge here leading up to Thursday, and then ease back into things and try to get to that game against Ursuline.
Has there been a sense around maybe either seeing it for yourself or talking to the coaching staff that maybe we're hitting a little bit of a lull late in the season, just starting to just a little tired because you're having to go consistently like that?
Yeah, Coach could probably speak more to it in terms of the specifics surrounding it, but he has made mention of them just needing a little bit of a break here before the big postseason push. So I'm sure that he and the girls are appreciative of that time right now to refocus, work hard, but maybe keep the heavy lifting away for a few days and then hit the ground running.
But as just as important, first year in the ECC, you go 16-0. Not a bad statement to make in year one. And now maybe you can go on a run like Wyoming has for the last 10 or 11 years in their league, and their 152 match streak just came to an end. So now you're
one day at a time, Jason. One day at a time.
Yes. Oh, I know. But I'm over here on this side. I'm behind a screen and a microphone here.
Yeah.
I'm not in the trenches every day, so I can project out. I know they're not going to, and I know you're not going to as well. We've had a lot of fun talking and growing this relationship between ESP Media and Lebanon High School as the fall season's gone along. And there was a lot of question as to, you look back to July, August, maybe even early September, whether we would even get to this point where you and I are sitting here in middle of October wrapping up the fall season. Looking back, take me maybe to August 15th, August 30th, with everything going on, all the uncertainty, and you've mentioned the schedule changes you've had to make, adding teams, taking teams off, pushing things back, whatever the case may be. At that point, did you think we would have a complete fall sports season?
Oh, shoot. I can't remember where my head was at around that time. There were days where I was optimistic and days I was pessimistic. I think you look at a day like today where things, if you look at the news, which I try not to do too much, but
sure,
try to keep my pulse on where things are going, it's looking pretty meek and mild again. And so we just control what we can control. I think we were optimistic that we were going to have compliance from the coaches and kids to do our part. Mm-hmm. The things we couldn't control in terms of what's spreading at the grocery store and other things, was going to be out of our hands. But I think there were great plans put in place. Appreciate the Southwest District and all the people at the OHSAA that have to make those tough decisions. But they put us in position to have the kids have their seasons. And I think for that, they're very appreciative. And I know parents are as well. And the compliance they've shown coming to games and things has been tremendous.
How invaluable is that to have the support from the community, not only to come out and as best they can cheer on the Warriors every match, every game, whatever the case may be, but also to reinforce to the kids, because a lot of people forget these are still teenage kids, 13, 14 up to 18 years old, to reinforce that when they're not at practice, when they're not on the playing field, when they're not in school, that they have to continue to abide by this. Otherwise, things could be shut down in an instant.
Yeah, that's the hardest part at any school right now. And even talking to our administration here and things, we oftentimes feel that this is the safest place, the way that we're able to set things up. Very few, if any, positive cases have actually occurred here, knock on wood.
Sure.
Although things happen out, elsewhere and in quarantines and things have impacted those coming to school. But, we have protocols in place that really allow this to be a very safe environment. And I won't leave the office here. And it's been tough for me getting to know new people here.
Yeah.
Just starting in July because everyone's got a mask on. So sometimes I see someone without a mask and I feel like I never met him before. But we're doing all we can. And everything we do is just keeping the kids' best interest in mind and trying to make things as normal as possible and keep chugging along. So good to hear that the winter sports are set to start on time and having a lot of those conversations now.
How big of a challenge has it been for you? Because a lot of people forget you are the new man at Lebanon, and you're trying to establish, yourself there and how you want to do things, and also on top of it, as you said, literally put names with faces on top of the fact that we can't have that game. We need to add a game here. We need to do this. We need to have
Well, I'll tell
ticketing
you this,
policies in place.
it's been leaning on a lot of great people that are here, and our principal, Mr. Butler, and Shelly. Shelly Cornell is in our athletic office, and she is unbelievable. Has pointed me in the right direction for everything in an instant, and um, her handling a lot of the logistics from the day to day has allowed me to really, you know, spend time on COVID and making sure things are good, that we're up and running. But yeah, your typical transition time is pretty slow, and you kind of ease into certain areas. But I jumped right in the fire, so to speak, and we just hit the ground running. So, but she's been awesome, and in our facility staff and people at district office have made it really easy, as everyone's had all hands on deck. So
On top of the fact that you've taken this athletic department into a brand new conference as well. Oh, by the way, that's not an easy thing to handle either. You mentioned just a moment ago that winter season's right around the corner. As of now, again, knock on wood, we will have a winter sports season in its entirety. The next time we convene here on the podcast will be to start talking about the winter season. Hopefully there's still some fall sports that are still in action, and we can brag on those. But for Warriors fans, when they tune back in to the podcast, when we start the winter sports chats, what should we look for when talking about the winter athletics?
well, hopefully we have some schedules ironed out. One of the tricky things now is everyone's going indoors, and um, other than volleyball being inside in the fall, everyone's out at the stadium or out and about at cross country meets and things, or at the tennis courts. But moving inside, we use different venues for bowling. We're over at the YMCA for swimming. We're obviously inside for wrestling and different things. So with things moving inside, a lot of restrictions and things have been put on in terms of schedules. So those are very fluid right now. Can we have large invitationals or small meets? Are we going to do duels or versus quad matches, or can we do full-on wrestling, invitationals? So we have an ECC AD meeting tomorrow where we're going to talk through some of the swimming and wrestling things. But the only thing I really feel comfortable with right now is our basketball schedules are set in stone, and everything else is kind of in flux. So hopefully we got some answers as it relates to that next week.
We'll certainly see what happens there. And again, we'll be looking forward to that when the winter sports season comes. It's not too far off in the future, so we'll be looking forward to that. Keith, great getting the chance to chat with you over the last handful of weeks here, and getting a wider fan base around Cincinnati introduced to Lebanon Warriors athletics. Great fall season thus far, league championships already, and still have a lot of exciting things ahead. Looking forward to it.
Yep, thanks for your guys' support, and we're just trying to spread the Lebanon cheer, and appreciate again our cheerleaders helping us do that. So
they've been a big part of it, and we certainly appreciate their support and also your support here as well on the podcast. That is Lebanon Athletic Director Keith Pantling joining us for the fall sports season finale of This Week in Lebanon Warrior Sports here on ESP Media, powered by Sidearm Sports.